Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Got a Story for You. I'm Phil Junta, your host, writer, and occasional story narrator on this here channel. And in fact, I do have two stories to read for you today. Actually, excerpts. They're the opening scenes from the last two science fiction stories I had published earlier this year. One is called In the Span of a Heartbeat, and that was published in, I will show this to you, Black Cat Weekly. I mentioned this in a previous episode. This was back in January, issue number 176. My first story published with Black Cat. It was also my first submission to them, so got very lucky with that one and very grateful to be published with them. The editor is John Betancourt, longtime veteran author of the business and editor and writer. Just fantastic guy to work with, very kind and very generous in his feedback, and I really enjoyed the process of publishing with them. So, and the nice thing about Black Hat is you pay $2.99 for a digital magazine, and you get not just 30 pages of content or 50 pages worth of content. You get about 300 to 400 pages worth of content. It's a huge ebook, and it's a mix of new writers or up and coming writers, people who've been in the business a little while, plus a lot of vintage and classic writers' stories. Harlan Ellison and Lester Del Rey, Lee Brackett, Philip Jose Farmer. Uh, as you can see here on this image, this is the cover for 176. They have Ellery Queen and Lynn Carter. So it's an honor to be published alongside that caliber of writers, in this magazine. And in fact, in April, knowing that they have a 5 to 6 month lead time, I sent them a Halloween story. It's called Where Halloween Never Ends. And it was my second submission, and it was also my second acceptance. To my surprise and to my great honor, they accepted the story, and it'll be out in one of their October issues. And when I know more, you'll know more. I'll let you know about that as we get closer. The other nice thing about Black Cat Weekly, and I'm going to stop sharing this, is they illustrate some of the stories in their book. And this was the illustration for my story. I love it. Clearly, the artists read the story, man, because they got this down. It is absolutely gorgeous artwork. And I was stunned when I saw this. I actually welled up a little bit. I was so emotional when I saw this artwork for my story. It's absolutely brilliant. I had it on my Facebook banner for a while there when the story was published back in January. I love it. So I look forward to seeing their October issue when I'm published them again. And I've read through some of their other issues to get a feel for what they published because I wasn't quite familiar with them right away when I submitted, and I just was so impressed with the content and with the artwork and everything. It's a fantastic magazine. Such an honor to be published with them. So anyway, I will read that story for you very shortly. And my second story that I'll read for you, or the excerpt that I'll read for you, is called Isaac Geary's Instant Utopia. And that was published in this anthology that I've mentioned before called Bright Mirror. It's an anthology of utopian science fiction stories, stories of promise and discovery and of brighter tomorrows. We have a lot of dystopian science fiction out there, so this was nice to a nice change of pace to write for a book like this. And I'm very pleased to have done so, and I'm pleased to have worked once again with Oddity Prodigy Productions, a small press based in Delaware. So they published one of my horror stories back in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. They had an anthology called Scary Stuff, which was an homage to Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror and Haunt of Fear, all those EC comics from the 60s, those horror comics that some of you might remember. And this is my second time working with them, and it was wonderful. So I'll read you the excerpt, the opening scene from that shortly. But let me just update you on a few upcoming events that you might find interesting. Let me pull up, pardon me, let me pull up the first event here. I'll get this right eventually. You wouldn't know I was an IT guy by how I handle technology, would you? Right, so let's do this. Share my screen and bring up this event, Creatures, Crimes, and Creativity. This is a convention that's been long running in Columbia, Maryland. It happens every September. Occasionally it gets bumped to October, but most of the time it's in September. This year will be September 19th to the 21st. And I was here at this convention for the first time in 2021. So it's been about 4 years. And I had a great time. It was just after the pandemic, so attendance may have been a little light. Um, but I look forward to returning in September next month to see this convention at full strength and full attendance. I have friends that go every year religiously. Every year they go and they love it. It's a highlight of their year. And I can see why. I had a great time in 2021. So I look forward to going back. And let me just show you some of the authors that will be there. It is an impressive list. And I worked with a lot of these writers you see here, and I've been to other conventions with them. I've been in anthologies with them. Some of them have edited my work, and I absolutely love it. And some of them have published my work as well. And they're in there because some of these writers you see here own small presses, and they publish my work. So always an honor to share a discussion panel with some of these folks, and to just to share tables with them at autograph shows, and just talk shop and have a good time. That's kind of why I go to these conventions. Yeah, it's nice publicity, it's nice promotion to sell books. I just go to have a good time. That's all I'm really about. So they have keynote speakers. They have book fairs here where you can get books signed by the writers. They have, if you register, they include some of the meals. I think you have all three meals on Saturday included, and a breakfast on Sunday, maybe dinner Friday night. Um, but I'll include the link to this convention in the notes below uh, the video here. So you can check out Creatures, Crimes, and Creativity in September in Columbia, Maryland. Also, one other event that I've been doing every year for the past 2 or 3 years. Let me share this with you. This is in Lehigh Valley area. Oh, by the way, I just came off of the Lehigh Valley Comic Con yesterday up at Lehigh Carbon Community College, just outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania, a little town called Schnecksville. And the main campus, every August and July, they host the Lehigh Valley Comic Con for a 1 day show. They also do a 2 day show in the spring at the Allentown Fairgrounds in the Agriplex, if you're familiar with that, if you're from the Lehigh Valley in the Allentown area. I have not attended their 2 day shows yet. April's usually a rough time for me because it's spring and I'm coming off of winter and there's home projects and yard work and I want to get outside and get some fishing in and whatever. So I had not been to their April show yet, but they bumped their spring show next year to June. It is their 25th anniversary. So I did in fact buy tables, 2 tables for that show, June 6th and 7th, sorry, 6th and 7th, 2026 at the Allentown Fairgrounds. However, I had a great time yesterday at their 1 day show at the college, at the community college. Sold a bunch of books, caught up with some old friends, had a great time. And I'll be back there in December, on December 5th, I think it is, on Saturday at their next 1 day show, their last one of the year. And I'll include a link to the Lehigh Valley Comic Con in the notes below this video. But after Creatures and Crimes and Creativity, I have a nice, fun little Halloween craft show called Witches Day Out. This takes place in Northampton, Pennsylvania, at the Triborough Sportsman Club, right there on Canal Street. This will be my third year doing this event at this location. When they first started some years back, I did the first 2 shows and it kind of dropped off for a while. But about 3 years ago, they found this venue. It's both indoor and outdoor. So we have indoor vendors such as myself. I tend to prefer to be indoors when you have books. It's a little safer that way. But they also have outdoor vendors rather, with canopies and tents. And we have artists and we have candle makers and we have people that make all kinds of arts and crafts as well as other writers. In addition to myself, we have people who make cookies and candies and treats. And there's a food vendor there on site. So it's a wonderful day for people of all ages. Kids have a blast, adults have a blast. It's absolutely wonderful. They've had live music there in the past and whatnot, so they have, just it's all decked out for Halloween. It's a lot of fun. They do cosplay. It's great. It's just a fun day. I love it. So, and it's run by some people that I know, some longtime friends. So, Witches Day Out, October 12th. It's a Sunday from 12 to 5. I will be there. And the last event I have to share with you is it's called, I mentioned it before, survey says, the Easton Book Festival. This is on its 7th year in downtown Easton, Pennsylvania. This year it's October 13th through the 19th. I volunteered to be part of the programming committee this year, so I've helped to put together some of the events, specifically from the Greater Lehigh Valley Writers Group. I've been serving as a liaison between that group and the book festival. The gentleman who did this job before me stepped down. He was doing it for a number of years, even I think right from the beginning, 7 years ago. So he stepped down this year, and so they were in a pinch, and I volunteered to step in. So I've arranged a number of events, with the Greater Lehigh Valley Writers Group already, with the book festival. We are now in the scheduling phase, so we're putting the schedule together. So if you're a reader or a writer in the Lehigh Valley area in Pennsylvania, consider dropping by the Easton Book Festival if you're not familiar with it. It's a wonderful event. If you've been here before, come on back. It's getting better every year. Um, we do have two opportunities for writers to sign up for tables and sell their books. The first is on Saturday, October 18th. This is an outdoor event at the Easton Farmers Market. You can see the link here at the top of the page. It is a free table from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we're limited on space. We don't have a lot of space, but I think we can get at least 16 or so writers in there, or at least 16 tables, and maybe that many, sharing a table, you get even more writers. But go ahead and sign up for that. And then if you're interested, or on Sunday, October 19th, from 12 to 4, we have the Small Press Expo. That is inside the Segal Museum. It's a museum that's in downtown Easton. It has an auditorium where we have the Small Press Expo, and then now I believe we're trying to do something a little bit different. Typically, a lot of our discussion panels and presentations are held in various other locations and businesses and shops in downtown Easton. Some of them gladly host some of our events, including Book and Puppet Company, which is the independent bookstore in downtown Easton. It's owned by a gentleman named Andy Latis, Latis. Andy, who is he's the founder of the Easton Book Festival, but he's a musician and he's a writer and he's an activist and a publisher and a bookstore owner, man of many hats and many talents. But Andy is the founder. We've since grown into a whole committee to help run the Easton Book Festival. But that's one of the central hubs. So some events happen there. Some events happen in the Segal Museum, Easton Farmers Market. We also have a couple of other small businesses that host some of our events. What we're trying to do this year is we're trying to use another room in the Segal Museum just down the hall from the auditorium so that readers and writers don't have to go very far to participate in events and then come right back up to the book fair. So the Small Press Expo. So we'll see what happens. We're in that scheduling phase right now. And I'll have more information about that as we get closer. But here we are, Easton Book Festival, October 13th and 19th. Check that out. I will definitely have a table at the Small Press Expo, and I'm booked for about 3 different discussion panels and presentations. So, sponsored by Lafayette College. We're very grateful for that, grateful to them for their support. So that's it for events. Now I'd like to read for you my story. It is called, jump back over here. I will share the illustration with you. You can look at this beautiful illustration while I read the story, so you don't have to watch my ugly mug as you're listening to this very short, brief excerpt called "In the Span of a Heartbeat." A string of expletives assailed Norini as she entered the lab. The gruff voice bellowed from the conference table in the back corner, above which hovered a massive rotating hologram of Uzo, the largest of 3 planetoids at the edge of Inyari space. Its desolate pockmarked surface resembled an artist's palette of taupe, white, and burnt umber, with occasional patches of slate blue. Uzo was also home for the next 4 weeks, and the final stop on a year-long expedition to survey the last undeveloped real estate in the solar system for colonization. At the workbench across the lab, speleologists Win Quona and Seth Reisig conversed in hushed tones, as if afraid to draw the ire of the science team's cantankerous leader. Norini sidestepped the hologram to find her father hunched in his seat, jabbing a finger at the touchscreen and the table's beveled edge. "Everything all right, Dad? Can someone please tell me how the hell to pull up the damn contour map from Sonda?" Orin, the team's technical engineer, bounded in from the adjacent room. "No problem, Dr. Duran. Let me show you." The seismologist rolled his chair aside as the younger man hunched over the screen. He tapped once, swiped twice, and Uzo faded out. One more tap produced a rectangular cross-section of a lava tube connecting two massive calderas. Thank you, Joran stood. Perhaps my daughter married someone useful after all. Ignoring Narimi's fuming gaze, the team leader cleared his throat. Before we begin, just one announcement. He clasped his hands behind him as Quona and Ryzik fell silent. I received word from Captain Milliken earlier this morning. She's been diverted to the edge of Zorine space. Hostilities are escalating in the region, and the Navy wants more firepower along the border. As a result, she will not be able to pick us up as scheduled. The closest ship to us is the Praetorius, but it's 5 weeks out. The team responded with groans and slumped shoulders. Yes, I know. We're all anxious to go home. But after a year in space, what's an extra week? Now, let's review our objectives for today. Duran traced his finger along the edge of the holographic contour map. According to the body wave emitters planted by our Sonda rover last year, just before it crapped out, Quona folded her arms across her chest and smirked at Orin. Norimi's husband had designed the rover, which went offline 5 months after landing on Uzo, making him the target of occasional ridicule ever since. We don't know what happened to it, Dr. Quona, Norimi said, and it isn't relevant right now. We have its last known coordinates. If we find it while we're here, we'll figure it out. Quona's smirk faded as her gaze shifted to the hologram. As I was saying, Joran continued, the seismic data Sonda sent back shows that this lava tube is 63 meters in diameter and runs for 94 kilometers, making it a strong candidate for a subsurface habitat. It's 708 meters down and runs directly beneath two calderas that we saw from orbit, Prithian and Aramal, about 10 kilometers apart. Near the base of each are caves, some of which connect with the lava tube. There are also several conduits that branch off from the tube. Some appear to end in caverns, others lead to dew lines or sinkholes that are open to the surface. We'll explore as many as we can. Based on the coin toss aboard ship yesterday, Quona and Rysig will head northwest to Prithian, while Narimi and I go southeast to Aramal. We'll collect soil and rock samples, assess structural stability, and get a closer lay of the land, while Orin monitors everything from here. Any questions? No one stirred. Excellent. Duran tapped the screen and the hologram vanished. Let's go spelunking. Although 400 times dimmer here than on their homeworld, the sun's light was sufficient for navigating Uzo's craggy terrain. In the driver's seat of Crawler 1, Norimi craned her neck to peer up at the towering rim of Aramal, beyond which lay the largest caldera in the Naxton belt of planetoids. What had been a breathtaking view from orbit became humbling and intimidating at close range. In the passenger seat, her father recorded their journey on the crawler's exterior cameras, controlled by the dashboard's touchscreen. We've been driving for 20 minutes and you haven't uttered a word. When my daughter gives me the silent treatment, I know she has something on her mind. He leaned toward her. She gets that from her mother. And if Mom were still with us, she'd smack you upside the head for the way you treat Orin. Norimi tore her gaze away from Aramal and glared at her father. I've held my tongue until now because we're both still grieving, but I expected better from you. As the leader of this team, I don't have time to coddle anyone, Remy. That includes your lesser half. I'm not asking you to coddle him. I'm asking you to show him some respect for a change, as a colleague. You constantly belittle him because he's not a scientist, yet Orin developed almost all of the tech we're using on this mission. Well, let's hope it holds up better than his Sonda rover. Why do I waste my breath? As they drove into Aramal's shadow, Norimi slapped the dashboard touchscreen. The headlights flashed on and glinted off the frame of a small vehicle parked beside the cave entrance. Who the hell could that be? Her father tapped his dashboard screen. Team 1 to base camp. We just arrived at the foot of Aramal, and it looks like we have some company. And those are the two opening scenes from In the Span of a Heartbeat. To give you just a quick summary of what this story is about, during a survey mission on a distant planet, a group of scientists discovers an underground cavern rich in valuable artifacts, but soon find themselves hunted by a pack of subsurface creatures. And that was, again, in issue number 176 of Black Cat Weekly, and I'll have the link for that in the notes below the video. So let me stop sharing that, and instead what I will do is I will share, or I'll read my next excerpt for you. That's, again, this is called Isaac Geary's Instant Utopia, and that's from the Bright Mirror anthology. And if you give me just a second here, I am going to pull up something else just to have up on the screen so you're not looking at me the whole time I'm reading. I will pull up this beautiful cover art from Bright Mirror. This is the one thing I'll say about Oddity Prodigy Productions covers is, man, they are just gorgeous. And I want to share this one with you just so you can see it. The artwork, better than what I'm waving around the paperback. You can get a good look at this gorgeous artwork. So let me just share this with you while I'm reading the excerpt. There you go. There's that. And let me pull up the excerpt from Isaac Geary's Instant Utopia. As soon as I can find it here, so bear with me. Maybe I'll just read it from the paperback instead of from my screen. Alrighty, I'm going to dig it up here. Here we go. Isaac Geary's Instant Utopia. All right. It took only a day to grow the first snow-capped mountains. The entire range had erupted from the surface on the other side of the world, far enough away that the shock wave barely registered at terraform control. By the following afternoon, several kilometers of barren gray flatlands were transformed into lush fields of colorful wildflowers and deep green grass, bordered by a rushing river on one side and a dense forest on the other. Sector Zero terraforming complete, the dulcet voice of the computer announced over the intercom. On the opposite side of the canteen, a group of scientists cheered and toasted their success, while the Marines in the back corner maintained their stoic silence. Seated across from me at our usual table, my sister raised her cup. Here's to Isaac Geary's Instant Utopias. I tapped mine against hers. And the lives they'll save. This wasn't the first time Nuala and I had witnessed the ancient terraforming technology work its magic on a dead world. After living on the remote planet of Orelon for the past few years, she and I were used to landscapes changing at the press of a few buttons. We could order up a beach of pink sand one day and go skinny dipping in a secluded hot spring the next. Don't ask us to explain how it works. For that, you need to chat with the lead scientist, Dr. Isaac Geary. He's the one who'd discovered and mastered the long-buried alien machinery after his ship crashed on Orelon. That was long before my sister and I landed there to hide from the law, but that's a story for another time. Suffice it to say that Isaac saw something redeeming in Nuala and me and took us in, rather than turn us over to system police. Since then, he's become a surrogate father to us. After he'd created a perfect utopia for himself on Orelon, Isaac was reunited with his wife, Hannah. She joined him there after he treated her terminal cancer using nanites he'd programmed himself, but they both knew she was living on borrowed time. It broke our hearts when she died a year later, but at least they'd spent that time together in paradise. To help him cope with his grief, Isaac set his mind to duplicating the terraforming technology so he could offer it to others. That brought us here, to Aphira, a barren planetoid in the middle of the Noltac system. It was a proving ground to see if he could generate a utopia from scratch. If the test succeeded, the process could be used on other lifeless worlds, alleviating the pressures on most of the overpopulated planets throughout the 8 systems. What time are we taking off for Lyris? Nuala asked, just before a distant explosion rocked the base. Plates and utensils rattled and cups toppled to the floor. Was that another shock wave from the terraforming? The Marines shot up from their table and bolted around from the canteen, while the scientists rushed to the windows. But the tranquil scene outside gave no indication that anything was amiss. Attention, all personnel, the computer beckoned. Lockdown in progress. Do not attempt to leave the complex. All vessels will remain grounded until further notice. Sounds like we're not taking off anytime soon. I downed the last few drops of my coffee. Let's find out what the hell happened. We charged down the corridor, covering our ears against the alarms screeching from the ceiling. By the time Nuala and I bounded into terraform control, Isaac and his colleagues were huddled around Colonel Lorca, the commanding officer of the Marines assigned to protect the base. Cargo ship on a direct collision course with the complex, Lorca was saying. When the pilot failed to acknowledge our hails, two of my patrol cruisers shot it down near Kilrain Crater. We sent a squad to check for survivors. We'll lift the lockdown when I'm satisfied we're out of danger. In the meantime, I'll shut off the alarms. It's hard to believe that anyone would object to the idea of creating a better future for humanity, but the death threats against Isaac and his team started 2 days after our project on Ephira was featured on the interplanetary news. A handful of extremists condemned the technology as dangerous and vowed to stop us. But I never expected they'd get this close. People often fear what they don't understand, and I used to be one of them until I met Isaac. I'll be curious to see which terrorist faction claims responsibility for this, he said to the colonel. You and me both. With that, Lorca hurried from the room. It wasn't until after the other scientists had drifted back to their stations that Isaac noticed us and ambled over. How are my two favorite pilots in the galaxy? A lot more worried about our future here than I was 10 minutes ago, I replied. Understandable, but I have faith in our Marines to keep us safe. Speaking of which, I know you two were heading out to Lyris in a few hours to pick up the equipment for Sector 2. I don't know how long you'll be delayed, but once this crisis is resolved, I'll request a military escort for you. Nuala waved off the suggestion. We don't need that. With all the mods Zay and I made to our ship, we got more than enough speed and firepower to deal with anything those thugs can throw at us. Don't underestimate those thugs, Isaac said. They possess more determination and resources than the pirates you've been used to fending off in the space lanes. He slipped an arm around each of their shoulders. I don't know what I'd do if I lost you both, so the Marines are going with you. Besides, by the time you get back, Sector 1 will have been terraformed, and I programmed a few hot springs into the Matrix so you two can go skinny dipping. There were no survivors from the crashed cargo ship. It had been a drone, its course pre-programmed. 4 hours passed before Nuala and I were allowed to leave, with one System Marine cruiser as an escort. The trip to Lyris took 6 days through hyperspace. Our final approach brought us between the planet and its primary moon, Decage, a patchwork sphere of rust beige and slate gray, pockmarked by scores of impact craters. I wondered if anyone lived there, until my tactical display picked up a cluster of surface-to-space missiles on an intercept course. Well, this wasn't the welcome I was expecting. The automatic red alert klaxon blared through the ship. Even Nuala couldn't sleep through that. I slapped the comm button to hail the Marines. ME 2061, this is the Gilded Rage. I have 24 Spearhead-class Seeker missiles on their way up from Decage. Any suggestions? Nuala stumbled into the cockpit half-dressed and strapped herself into the co-pilot's seat. She shut off the alarm and pulled up a tactical display on her console. Who the hell's firing at us? Someone on that moon. ME 2061, do you read me? The only response was static. Whoever it is, they're jamming our comms. Hang on. I threw the ship into a forward dive toward Lyris, then banked hard to port. The Marine cruiser unleashed a spread of anti-missile rounds. Several small explosions followed. The remaining spearheads separated into two groups. One swerved toward the Marines. The other followed us. Nuala's fingers danced over the weapons console. Since when do pirates use seeker missiles? They disable ships to raid them, not blow them out of existence. I don't think these are pirates. Somewhere behind us, the Marine cruiser exploded. Shit, we're on our own now. Maybe we can shake these damn things near the outer moons. I might be able to get rid of them sooner. Nuala pressed a button on her console. Launching two aft torpedoes, they sailed into the cluster of 7 missiles and exploded, destroying 4 of them and knocking the remaining 3 off course. Our victory was short-lived. The tactical screen flashed red as the klaxon sounded off again. 2 of the missiles that had been diverted to the Marine cruiser earlier were still in the fight. They emerged from the debris behind us and slammed into our engines, sending the rage spiraling out of control toward Decage. Okay, those are the first 2 scenes from Isaac Geary's Instant Utopia in Bright Mirror. Alrighty, so those are the 2 that I wanted to read for you today, and I'll have links to both of these, again, to Black Cat Magazine and to Bright Mirror below, as well as all the events that I mentioned. So thank you very much for tuning in, and when I come back in the next episode, I will have 2 paranormal stories for you. And those are the 2 of the 4 short stories that I have had published in the first half of the year. One is called Give Them Peace, and it's a ghost story starring Miranda Lorenzen, my psychic medium from my novels Testing the Prisoner and By Your Side. And the other one is called A Certain Magic, and that's a supernatural story that takes place in Western Pennsylvania. So I can't wait to read those 2 for you next time. Alrighty, thanks for tuning in. Have a great night, and catch you next time. Thanks.